you those questions in their closing remarks, and then we'll close out with something that we hope will cheer you up just a little bit. So
I'm wearing green.
Yeah. Because you're wearing green, this is this green bias. But I'll take the woman in the front, and then the man in the pink. Oh, okay. So woman in the front and the man in the pink.
Well, as a blogger, I've been kicked off the Daily Cub twice because of the problems I've caused by blogging in favor of Palestine instead of Israel.
Okay.
Second, I think that Bush 1, Cheney, and Rumsfeld being supervisors to Reagan and et cetera, have caused so much more damage to this country than 9/11 ever did. And are they being interrogated? Do they have Townsend, Calpo covering over them? No. And third, I got so mad at George W. Bush, I said, what can I do to really get back to him? I know, I'll become a Muslim. I did, and now I'm but I don't wear the hijab because it's scary. So I want to thank you guys for.
Thank you. I think that's the only conversion story I've heard of that many years, so I think he gets a round of applause. Woman in the blue in the front, really quick with a question, and the man in the pink.
I think one reason it seems so hopeless is that people, like people are not worried. You know, they need to be worried. But I wondered if you have an opinion on how serious these spy drones are, some the size of a hummingbird, and also if there's any recourse for people who are disappearing.
Hi, yeah, my name is Steve Horn. I've been covering the NATO 5 case. Hi, nice to meet you guys. I've been covering the NATO 5 stuff, especially that happened in Chicago recently. And I just, just as a blanket question, sort of, I want to know just a general reaction of what you think went on there, and if you see it as a classic case of entrapment. Thank you.
So we'll start with Rose and work our way down in terms of closing remarks. Please also include things that you want to encourage people to get involved.
Okay. I guess one of the big things for me is that there's more and more surveillance that we don't even think of, like was brought up earlier in terms of Facebook and our cell phones, and I've been involved in trying to educate activists about that, and I think that one of the really neat things is that one of the really major important activists on that topic, his name is Dick Applebaum, he works for the Tor Project, which is funded by the State Department, and he came and gave a lecture to us, but just to kind of explain that, basically he's being intimidated and harassed because of basically his involvement in WikiLeaks and his actions within the U.S. trying to bring that kind of accountability that the State Department is funding for in other countries to the United States. And he specifically talks about drones, and he talks about how scary drones are, and he talks about metadata, which I think is something I didn't get to cover, but is incredibly important. And he gave a 3-hour training for us, and it was amazing, and you can find it at tiny.cc-digital repression vid.
Could you repeat that?
Sure. tiny.cc/digital repression vid. And it just links to a YouTube video. But basically bringing up that like all of this is interconnected and we can't break any of it apart. And I think that's a large part of why I'm up here on this panel. And I really urge you all to support your local activists and ask hard questions. Go watch that video, you'll be terrified, and hopefully you'll take good action and you'll start to realize why this really concerns all of us, and privacy is one of the best things that we can push for.
Cyrus.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions. I'll answer them all very briefly about about Steve with the NATO 5 situation. I think that was classic criminalizing dissent. I mean, if their story is true and this was nonviolent action, it's criminalizing dissent. It's very much about criminalizing radicalism. What does radical mean? It means getting to the root. There's nothing violent or extreme about radicalism. It's getting to the root of a problem. This is that's what it's about, and especially people, that's why I've tried to reclaim it, and I consider myself a radical and a very proud one, and I think we need to reclaim that, and that is a very good example now of how tactics against Muslims are being spread to Caucasians as well, and other political denominations of sorts. So I think that's very important. As far as, the former Daily Kairos blogger, I think that we also need to question our assumptions, because Zionism depends on Islamophobia. Zionism depends on Islamophobia, and war in general depends on Islamophobia, so we need to question very strongly, not just question because we know the answer, but we need to be very conscious and vocal about where our money goes, and those are our tax dollars that fund modern apartheid. Also, to the brother in the back about the who do we blame, I love blaming everybody, but it's also on us. There's two things though as far as outs, and one is law and the other is education. You know, one, I mean, with the NYPD, actually with COINTELPRO, lawyers can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first COINTELPRO was exposed thanks to the BLA lawsuit, right? Dorgo bin Wahad, who was the Black Liberation Army, or one of these.
There was a break-in in media, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so a bunch of activists.